Hello once again, and welcome to Heroes and Droids, your guide to movies and TV shows about superheroes, sci-fi, Disney, action. From Marvel to DC, from Star Wars to Star Trek, from James Bond to The Fast and the Furious. We will review theatrical films and streaming delights you care about most. And this week we are heading back to the MCU on Disney Plus for Loki Episode 3, titled Lamentis. Oh, halfway mark. We're at the halfway mark for the series. I'm already crying. All right. I am Doc Rotten, and joining me tonight are the crew. Starting off with Slattman. Slattman, how you doing, sir?
Good. Just having an existential crisis on whether I'm a variant or not.
I know there's so many variants, and I don't know. Are you a variant
Is
inside
Steve
of a
Rogers
variant?
a variant? He kind of went through time a lot.
Stop. I can't handle it. I can't handle the truth. All right. Also joining us is podcasting Rockstar and international cosplay queen Vanessa. Vanessa, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Yes. Making sure to keep all my batteries well charged.
Yes. Oh my gosh. This is important of having, like a charger with you. All right. Also with us is, of course, award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Moore. How you doing, sir?
Doing good. I kind of wish that I'd bought a black light and made stuff glow in this room, like parts of this episode.
All right. I wasn't sure where you were going there for a hot second, but I'm glad you said like this episode.
Well, hey, I keep you guessing.
You did.
That's why the ladies love me. I keep them guessing.
I certainly think so. All right, we are going to do this.
Wow.
We're going to do it all night. We're here. All right, we're going to give our first impression of the episode. That'll be spoiler free, and then we're going to dive into spoilers while we discuss things. We're going to get into I think we have a top 10 kind of what is it? Easter eggs and references. And then of course we're going to just give theories and all kinds of things. There's a lot to talk about with this episode. What actually freaking happened? And then of course we're going to end up with our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. What are we talking about, guys? We are talking about Loki, streaming on Disney Plus, episode 3. I guess it's season 1. We hope for season 2 already, right? June 23rd is when it aired. The usual cast and director, except for we're pretty much stuck with Tom Hiddleston and Sophia Di Martino for the most part. There's one or two characters make a brief appearance, but it's focusing on these two. Loki to Loki, or Loki to Sylvia, or Sylvie, right? Not Sylvia, but Sylvie. And we'll find out what the deal is. And is it still up for grabs? Let's just start off here. I know this is a bit spoilery, but it's on my mind, and I want to start off with this. Are we convinced this is a female? Is this Lady Loki, or is this some other non-Loki person?
I think it's female Loki, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not convinced because she constantly said, "That's not me." So
I think
don't know.
she said exactly who she is. I think she's Sylvie acting as Loki.
Yeah.
Well, no, but she says she's using Sylvie as an alias.
I think they're kind of
Sylvie,
combining characters
And
from
also-
the comics.
Well,
I think you might be right.
but also a spoilery aspect is if you see the trailer for the next episode where you get to see a young Sylvie with black hair.
I haven't seen that yet.
Mm-mm.
You're spoiling the spoiler. All right, guys, let's get in this. Our first impressions, and Slattman, sir, you are up first.
Okay, so I want to preface this by saying I think it's still a good episode, and I still think that it's probably better than 90% of TV out there.
Uh-oh.
That being said, I feel like this episode is the weakest one we've gotten so far, and I feel like this one has, considering how fast the first 2 episodes were and how much happened in those, I feel like this is they took a very weird, they decided halfway through the season that to have what felt like an episode that where not a lot happens, for lack of better terms. Like compared to the first two episodes, not as much happens. We get a lot more one-on-one time with Loki and Sylvie, and that is amazing. Like that's very good. But I feel like this episode was missing something, and honestly, it's probably missing. Wow.
Yeah, I'll give you that. It's missing Owen Wilson, but it's literally a race against time. I don't know how.
I mean, I didn't. You can say it's a race against time, but I didn't feel tense the entire time. I don't know. Like, I still think it's a good episode, but I think it's probably the weakest one we've gotten so far. And I thought it was a very weird choice to have like the whole episode basically take place in the I don't know, like it just, it's hard for me to explain exactly why, but just it didn't feel as strong to me.
Oh my. All right, up next is Vanessa. What is your first impression of episode 3?
I kind of feel opposite. I enjoyed this one. I enjoyed it just as much as the previous two. Right now, to me, I'm not really. I don't know. I can't really rate one as being better than the other or not. It's just they seem to all work together. Like that's how all these Marvel shows are going. So it's difficult for me to say, oh, this is taking a low point, which it is it is a race against time, but it feels like a very slow race against time. I will give you that. I didn't feel rushed in this episode, really. I didn't feel tension, but I did feel a lot between our Lokis. And we had a lot of revelations about them, about the people at the TVA. I don't know. I think that this episode we're going to find out is a lot more important than we know right now.
Mm-hmm.
It just kind of feels that way to me, the way where they are, what's happening. It kind of feels like more is going to be revealed. And I like that feeling. I like that sense of like, feeling a little bit lost in this episode as compared to the previous two, especially. But I kind of like where that's going to lead to. So I don't know. I really like this one. I liked getting to know our Loki better, and some of the stories that he shared and the moments that we had. And my favorite moment is just so many things about this episode that I really found endearing. But I can't see your points to it being very different from the previous two. The tone is different, but I feel like the tone has been different in every one. The first one was so much different from the second one, and this is so much different from the first two. So I kind of like that, and I kind of expect that at this point.
You might have me convinced. All right.
It's the other two I got to work on.
Christopher G. Moore, your first impression of Lamentis.
I'm in the same boat as Slattman. I think this is my least favorite of the three so far, and it's like your least favorite Taco Bell menu item. It's still good going down, but you'd prefer the other items a little bit more.
Nobody wants a soft taco.
Always got to make it about food. This guy. Sponsor me, Taco Bell. But yeah, I mean, I did love the episode. I think for some reason there was parts of it that kind of lagged for me, and then it would speed up by certain things. And I mean, I think the ending is amazing. And I think some of the revelations are cool. But overall, it kind of like. It was kind of bogged down to me, and there was actually one moment I got kind of bored. But I think the look and stuff, especially when they get to Lamentis, is gorgeous. And just some of the visual effects and stuff that happens towards the end of it are great. And it is kind of good that we're getting sort of more information about the TVA that sort of changes everything and sort of like reveals stuff that a lot of us were questioning to begin with. So yeah, so I think this answers more questions, and we get to know a little bit more about Sylvie. But yeah, it really, to me, it didn't have the power of the first two, and maybe it's because, in the first two we got all these big things. We're learning more about all these different things, and things are happening. And this one, it's like Lord of the Rings. There's parts where they're just walking.
There's a lot of walking.
Yeah, so it's but overall, I enjoyed it. And again, this is, I mean, I think that we're running into the same thing. It's like WandaVision or Falcon and the Winter Soldier, to where even if it's not the best episode, it's still better than a lot of these other shows that are out there. I'd still watch this again. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I just, for some reason, it felt off, and not in a good way when you're changing up and doing something different. But I think also maybe there might be other things underlying that we don't know about that we might find out in the next episode. Because I know that the guy Hiddleston has hinted that there's a big change in episodes 4 and 5. So I guess we'll see.
I'd imagine. There's some surprises. There has to be something. We're left with a cliffhanger. This is the the other ones kind of ended with what, but this one is literally a cliffhanger. But I absolutely love this episode. I watched it twice, almost like right away. I will concede that I missed having Owen Wilson in the show. I didn't realize how much I loved his character and him in the show, that when he basically isn't in this episode. That's a small spoiler. That was greatly missed. So I can't say this is my favorite because of that. But at the same time, I really loved it. I loved having our Lokis, kind of battle each other mentally, right? Because they're basically trying to one up each other, trickster to trickster. And we, as the audience, I'm still not certain who's tricking who. Somebody's tricking somebody, and I'm not sure who's tricking who. Because there's reasons for either of them to be tricking the other. And there's a number of spots in the show when you watch it the second time, you go, okay, at that point they could. At that point they could. And at that point they could. It's and I was never bored. I never thought it was slow, because I was like, for me, I felt the urgency. I felt the they had, they wanted to get to this whatever the hell, this rocket, get off this thing, just the idea of this, the planet crashing onto the moon, and the way they visualized it, I thought was really quite wonderful. And I will say that the last few minutes was some incredibly well-directed material. The way you felt them running through the city, and the way it changed up things, and the way it transitioned using things falling or fog, or being kind of blown back, and then you kind of blurry, and you come to, and it just felt so urgent. And then something I got to talk about when we get into the spoilers. At the end of that scene, it was like, oh man, and I just felt it. I don't know. I'm really jazzed about this one entirely, and I love Sylvie now, and I have a feeling that might be the key. If you don't like the Sylvie character, I don't know if you're going to like, why would you like it? She's in the entire episode, right? So. But I did. I liked her quite a bit.
She definitely did grow on me too. I still don't accept her as our female Loki, but as a different character, I like her.
Well, I think there's room for her in somewhere, but I mean, the train ride for me was a highlight. I loved it when they're on the train, they're talking, and you get some backstory about each of them and slight differences. But at the same time, I don't know if one of them's a con or both of them are con. And then we get the great song, which was hilarious. And we're watching the second time, they do something they literally say they don't want to do about jumping off the train. Because what do you expect me to do? Go through the window and jump out the train? And that's literally what they do later on. And I was like, I didn't catch that the first time around, but the second time around when they said, I went, well, wait a minute, I know what you're going to do. So I I have my suspicions of what's happening, and I don't think our characters are quite in the danger that we think they're in. Regardless, the destruction of the Ark at the end and everybody's reaction to that destruction was, I don't know, it was just like everybody was just like, I mean, everybody's fighting, and all of a sudden they just go, well, shit. Right? It's just like everybody. And even Sylvie just kind of drops her stuff and walks away, right? So, but we have a lot to talk about. But one of the fun things about this show, and I think there's plenty in here to just talk about, are the Easter eggs and the little hints and stuff and references. And Christopher G. Moore, you are the master of these here at Heroes and Droids.
I didn't go that far, but
you sir, you are. What do you have for us this week?
Master.
Keeper of the eggs.
Keeper of the eggs.
Well, first of all, the very opening scene where the Sylvie and one of the TVA people in her variant form are sitting there. Actually, we have music that, instead of the normal music that plays over the Marvel thing, this music plays over that, and the song is called "Demon" by Haley Cuoco. Which has lyrics like, "Please forgive me, I have demons in my head." And she's literally a demon in the TVA girl's head. So I thought that's a good way to and because also, if we really want to go into the devil thing later on, there's a part where the woman, you're not travelers, you're devils.
That's right. She does that.
So there's a lot of these references, because we already had like the stained glass thing in previous episode, so just how these tricksters are called demons or devils in this and throughout the different universes. But yeah, there's a lot of callbacks to other films and stuff that Loki's been in. For instance, we have Sylvie, where she uses her horns to fight. There's one of the movies where Loki takes his horns off and fights with it. So it's a nice little correlation to that. There's also Lamentis. That planet was actually in the comic Annihilation Conquest prologue, and it's a Kree outworld. And in that one, I think the Nova Corps, I think, were destroyed. One of their things they keep getting stuff destroyed all the time, from what I understand in comics. But evidently that played into that specific comic. There's one part where Loki says that he was taught how to turn a flower into a frog, and in the comics, there's a part where he turns his brother into a frog, which would be great if we see that in this series, but I don't think that'll happen. Also, another callback when Loki falls out of the train when he lands and he does his little hair flip. It's the same thing from when he's in that time loop for like 30 minutes and he falls. And he does the little hair flip again.
I've been falling for 30 minutes.
Exactly. Let's see what else. That end shot, it's done is like one long shot, and they were inspired by Children of Men. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that film. And they hide a lot of the edits within camera moves. There's one part where where they hide the edit. So it's a really brilliant scene because the camera's rotating and how they incorporate it through like those clever edits really works well. And I think that's what really sells that. Let's see. I do think it's funny that she talks about brain freeze and she's a frost giant. So maybe she doesn't get, or maybe her brain is already frozen, or she doesn't get brain freeze per se because she's already a frost giant. Also,
she's a Lady Loki.
Well,
yeah.
You and your conspiracies. If you start noticing the end credits, the photos on the desk are constantly changing, and in this one they actually have photos of Loki with Sylvie. So almost like they're looking over everything. Let's see. Of course, we finally get that Loki in the first character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe who is actually queer, and that is him saying that he little bit of both when it comes to people he pursues. And she didn't disagree to that either. So she did
not deny it. Nope.
I know she didn't deny it either. Oh, also a nice little callback to know that Loki's is Thor's brother is then when he's drinking and he takes his glass and he's like another, which
Yeah.
is a callback to the first Thor film.
That was cute.
Let's see the part where they're looking inside the lady's house and they see a picture. It has her and her husband, almost like the American Gothic painting. Probably one of my favorite references is actually a reference to another film. If you notice, they go on this planet, this Lamentis planet, which is a mining colony. I don't know if you guys know of another sci-fi property involves a mining colony, and the two guys that are trying to deny entrance to the train, it's Private Hudson and Corporal Hicks, aka Hudson Hicks from Aliens. So we get a nice little Aliens reference, based on these two idiotic soldiers outside the train. Let's see what else. The end song is a song called "Dark Moon" by Bonnie Guitar, and with lyrics like "Dark moon, away up high in the sky. Oh, tell me why you've lost your splendor." So I love the use of songs in this episode. That's probably one of the strengths of it. Let's see what else. Of course, you have them trying to get to the Ark in the same way that some kind of a natural disaster happens, and like in the Bible, and everyone has to get on the Ark. Also, it feels I don't know if it's a reference to Snowpiercer as well. Some Snowpiercer vibes as well involved
on the train.
Yeah,
on the train for sure.
Probably another thing, and they're probably doing this to screw over all the Marvel people to confuse us even more. Is there's a part where the phrase "enchant me" happens, which brings into to play the whole Enchantress. Is she Enchantress? Is she Loki?
Mm-hmm.
I kind of feel like maybe they're trying to combine both of those worlds into one character, because with the cinematic universe, they can get away with that.
And have,
they have done that. Let's see. I think that might be her screen blast is very similar to Wanda's when she gets upset in WandaVision. I don't know if they meant to have that sort of connection, considering she has green glowy power, and Wanda has the red chaotic magic. Also, a lot of people pointed out the when Sylvie gets blasted when she opens the door is very Kill Bill. When she opens the door and gets shot and Kill Bill. So those are the ones that's kind of stuck out to me. They're kind of interesting. I think my favorite's the Aliens reference, because I love any kind of other like properties, especially sci-fi properties, that they can sort of do a reference to.
Yeah, that's pretty slick that they put Hicks and Hudson in there. Okay. There's a couple things to talk about during this episode, because one, the little pad they have first runs out of energy, then it actually falls apart, and then of course they're stuck on the planet.
Are you sure it falls apart?
Well, that's where I'm going. That's where I'm going, bearing the lead. And then of course they're stuck on the planet if everything we're watching is true, and that's the if it's true part. So there's some shenanigans going on. There has to be, right? There's a lot of shenanigans, people doing shenanigan things, so there's got to be some shenanigans. But my question is, who's fooling who? Who's the true trickster here?
I think Loki's the one in charge, because he is strangely calm for having a planet about to crash into your moon.
Yeah, but that's also Loki, right?
I mean, yeah, but still, like, strangely calm.
He is. Although, yeah. So I mean, well, does anybody else want to throw in before I go down my path here? Who do you think's fooling who? Does anybody think Sylvia is fooling Loki, trying to get him to turn over the real device, or is he have the device and trying to get him to, or her to, open up so they can actually be partners?
I think he has the more control. in this whole situation. And I think that's probably going to be that what's the big reveal is in the next episode. So I think it's because I feel like that she seems to be definitely more worrisome throughout this whole episode than he is. And I think that there's got to be something to this. And I think you Doc, when you pointed out the whole thing about what do you want me to jump out the window and stuff, that just seems a little too precious for that to be mentioned and then for it to happen.
Or to actually happen, right?
Yeah,
that's not by accident.
No, it feels very like, I mean, there's Inception vibes to this as well, to where it's like, maybe he's doing that to sort of get more information and stuff, and then deliver her to the TVA. So.
Well, because I did say this ends on a cliffhanger. They're stuck, and there's no way off this planet, because the only way off the planet, we watch it get destroyed, the Ark. Very incredibly well done scene. And so that means either, he's fooling her and we're, it's going to be back to where it started, or she's fooling him, it's back where we started, or somebody else pops up, and saves them, because they might know that they're in some disaster, right? And they just picked the best one, I suppose.Maybe, I don't know. What?
Who knows?
Are we still on the Loki thing? All right. So here's a couple things. I think Loki's in charge very much. It is a Loki show, and I think there's a couple of scenes that kind of show where he could be. I think the obvious one is where they touch each other, and she tries to enchant him and doesn't. Well, that's because he's already enchanted her, right? Or when she falls asleep and wakes up and he's singing. Somewhere in there, at that point, he's already enchanted her, right? So everything after that point is not real. It could even be earlier, when they were fighting and for control of the pad, because there was a scene I noticed the second time around where the pad is laying in the ground in one spot, right? And they're racing for it, and they grab it, and then they knock it free. And when they look back, and they just look back at it, it's in the exact same spot.
But didn't she not tell him how she did it until after they jumped out of the train?
I mean, who's to say that he doesn't know how to do it already and he's just playing with her?
Maybe. He seemed pretty surprised by it, and why wouldn't he have done it before to other people when he wasn't in the TVA?
Well, the only way he could do it before is when he had that weapon where he could touch people, and which it had was it Mind Stone?
I think so.
I think that was the only way he could do it before. So it feels like it's a power that he hasn't developed, or maybe either he doesn't have, or he was never taught it, because he mentioned earlier that he was taught by his mom to do certain things. So maybe that's a power that he never learned, but by her telling him maybe later on that he could do that. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's the big question, and maybe that's what would be the big reveal. Although somebody, because there seems to be little correlations to the Matrix and stuff, because there's a part where when she uses that weapon to zap people out of existence, when they zap you, there's almost like an electronic sound when that happens that feels very Matrixy. But like when they're walking up to get on that train, there's two guys that are twins. And in the Matrix, in order to let you know that that's the Matrix world, they always had twins walking around, so you feel there's multiples and stuff.
Wow.
So, yeah, so it's one of those things. Although I will say, when they walk up to the train, that's one of those moments that took me out of the picture, because you could tell there's a bunch of extras that don't know how to act.
Yes,
and they had little kids looking in the camera and people like trying to fake talk, and I was like, oh, as a filmmaker, this is making me cringe. Like, let's get away from these people, please.
Don't
piss on their moment. That's their moment.
I know, that's their moment. I don't think either of them is controlling the other, honestly. I think it's going to be more of a someone's going to come there to save them situation, or be found, or they're going to find something there, figure something out. I don't necessarily think there's a mind control aspect to it, between the two of them at least.
My personal theory is that there's no enchantedness or mind control, but Loki has an out card that, like, for for example, he probably still has the PDA, and the little time variance PDA that he showed her was what that was broken was an illusion, and he has the real one that's not broken at all, and he's sitting there playing her to try to get her to reveal something, or to like basically get to the point that she's groveling for help, for him to be like, oh well, I'll get you out of this, but you got to do what I want.
Yeah, he is a trickster, and he's always 10 steps ahead, right? That's what he says. And we've seen him be that way, even though he always loses. But does he? Losing is an art, I suppose. Okay, so there are a couple things. They could just be saved by somebody. Yeah, they could have their out.
What's it called? Deuce. What's the term?
Deuce Machine Machina?
Ex Machina, where people just show up out of the blue.
Deus Ex Machina. Yeah, that was in the first episode of the new Rick and Morty season 5. I had to come in and Deus Ex Machina this shit.
Which, yeah, there's actually a correlation to this, because I think they had a scene where they did another. Was it the Water King or whatever episode? Another.
Oh, that's right.
And because this is created by one of the writers, it makes you wonder, like, what influenced what?
Probably heavily, each other. That's great.
All right, so I guess it's anybody's guess what's coming up next, because now there is a trailer for the next episode. I personally have not seen it, and
I've seen it.
Have you seen it? Do we want to talk about that trailer?
Don't spoil it for me. No.
I mean, I haven't seen it either.
I choose not to.
Well, I won't say.
Okay.
Because it
Does it allude to something?
It alludes to.
Don't spoil it.
What happens
for me?
It alludes to what happens after this.
Yeah.
So there is an important reveal that we haven't mentioned yet, and that is that the TVA are not created to be there. They're actually all variants, and
variants from Earth.
Yeah, variants from Earth, and they don't know it. And they don't know it, including
the girl was Wilson. Like hundreds of years old. Her memory was faded after hundreds of years. Like, what?
Which somebody had mentioned online. What if that San Diego globe is from when they took Mobius? But that's why he was into water skiing.
Yeah, from the 90s.
He probably was like a dude that liked to go on a water ski, and
he was like super into it. Lived in Florida.
San Diego. Will he remember it? Yeah. Will he remember that? Will they give him back his memory? And
evidently they still have some connection to those memories.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because that girl in the very opening episode, she evidently has dreams or thoughts about this, and she has dreams about it.
It's probably subconscious, similar to how Owen Wilson's character is like obsessed with that one magazine.
And I would assume,
or the cola.
What the girl, the lady that was in Lovecraft Country, who's the main TV agent, after she got into her mind, she seemed a little bit aloof after that. So, and I'm assuming that maybe by her going into her mind, she opens up some of those mind containers of releasing it to where she's like, maybe starting to question. So I think the stuff is in there, maybe in the same way the brain freeze. Maybe they freeze their brain to not think about their past life, almost like your past life type stuff. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where we go from here when it comes to that. And also just like, I almost think that every time somebody gets zapped, they become a variant. If you think about it, those people that come in when they pull them, maybe when they zap them, they become a variant. So like that guy from the very first episode, maybe he'll show up as one of the
he's one of the variants now.
Although I think one of the weirdest theories somebody had is, Casey, the guy
Yes, Casey.
That Casey stands for KC, that he's a Kang the Conqueror variant.
He's not a Sunshine Band.
Which I thought was be hilarious. But anyway, I'll stop.
Well, Sasha Lane plays Hunter C20. That's the lady at the beginning. And, you know, last episode, she was like, it's all true. It's all true. It's all true. It's all true. What is she talking about? What's all true?
Her past life. The life that she led before they pulled her.
So she knows now.
Yeah, or them wiping their minds or whatever they do to make them forget. Because
it freaked her out.
Yeah, because I mean, evidently doing that mind connection somehow breaks their brain and it releases some of those memories.
Well, and she said she told them where the time lizards are.
At the elevator.
Time lizards.
Yeah.
The golden elevator.
So what I find interesting is the fact that in the TVA magic doesn't work, but who's to say that Kang the Conqueror's magic would work and that's what's controlling their minds or blocking the memories?
Well, you know what my theory is?
Tell us.
That we find out the main timekeeper is old Loki.
Old man Loki.
And he's done an enchantment on all of them in the same way that Sylvie's done enchantments on people to make them believe they're part of this TVA. That's just my thought.
Oh man, what if old man Loki is Kang?
That is OP. That is OP Loki. I don't know if he could do that.
Because we know there's, I can't remember the actor's name, but there's an actor who's going to show up at some point, and I believe he's going to be the old man Loki, who supposedly, I think he was also possibly the person that gave Sylvie or gave Lady Loki her powers, I guess, or Sylvie or one of those gave powers, I think, to the Lady Loki. But I don't know if that's how that plays out in this or not. Because we're still not even sure if she's actually Loki, right? Right, Vanessa?
We still don't know. It's still
not brunette.
It's not confirmed, and it's not denied yet. Okay, so last thing to talk about before we wrap things up is the quantum realm. I think we mentioned it in an earlier episode. Are we thinking that the TVA is located in the quantum realm?
No.
I haven't even heard that, but no, I wouldn't assume that.
Because we did see a city when they were going through all that quantum realm stuff.
Illusions are a thing.
Well, somebody had pointed out, just because the time is different here, they even said that in Thor Ragnarok on the trash planet.
That's true.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be in the quantum realm, and then that would be more of a micro universe as opposed to a regular universe.
Yeah, what was that? The devil's anus they had to go through to get out of it anyway?
Yeah. Yes.
We're going to go through the devil's anus. All right.
Wow, this took a dark turn.
deep dark. So you've got to come back with us and tell us who this cast member is by next week. Because that's not fair to go and tease us like that.
What if the cast member is in the next episode?
Well, that makes it easy then for him, actually. All right, let's go ahead and wrap things up with our final thoughts, our score, a 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. But before we do, if you're checking out these reviews and you're enjoying them, we want to thank you for hanging out. And we hope you are enjoying not only this one, but others on the show. We, of course, are covering The Bad Batch, and we covered WandaVision, Mandalorian, and a ton of movies and stuff, all the stuff that you should check out. So thank you for hanging out. If you'd like to help us, it's really easy to do. Hit the subscriber. We're getting close. Hit the subscribe button. And share with a friend. Man, that would do wonders. And of course, we'd love to hear your comments. Tell us how silly our theories are and how cool your theory is, because that's actually how it is. All right, let's do this. Wrap it up. Slattman, you're up first. Final thoughts, score.
Okay, so I want to preface, I still like this episode. Even though I think it's weaker than it's the weakest episode of the season, it's still very good. So I just want to put my negativeness in context. In that context is a 4.5 out of 5. I still think it's very solid. I still think that we get amazing moments. We mentioned the last 5-ish minutes or so when they're all in the city, and the editing and the framing and everything in that moment is so well done, and the music is very well done, and the acting, our actors for I don't remember who plays Sylvie, but Tom and Sylvie, Tom as Loki, and then whoever plays Sylvie, they have very good chemistry, and they're able to play off of each other very well, and this story is going in a very interesting direction, and I appreciate what the hints that they're giving us, and I really do, and I really like where I like where this could be going, and who knows, they might pull the rug out from underneath us and go, no, it's actually going in a completely opposite direction, because I feel like that's what they did last episode. But yeah, it's still very good, even if I don't like it as much as the rest of the season. My favorite scene is, so it's not one scene, but it's a collection of moments, and it's every moment that Loki and Sylvie sit there and argue, and it's like, no, we're doing this my way this time. We're gonna do it my way this time. Like, and then they're bickering of, it's just like, especially like when Loki like tries to play off as that woman's husband.
Oh yeah.
And she blasts him, and she's like, my husband never would have said something nice like that. And Sylvie gives Loki a look, and Loki's just like, don't start, don't. Like, every moment that they're just like, no, we're gonna do it my way. My way is better. No, my way is better. Like, I love every moment that like that in this episode.
Perfect. Yeah. Sophia Di Martino plays Sylvie. So, just so we know. All right, Vanessa, you're up next. Your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene.
I really enjoyed this episode. I thought it was a good one. I like the different tone. I'm enjoying how each episode has a different tone to it, and it feels different and puts you in a different emotional state. You don't know what to expect. I really like what they're doing with that. I like that they're exploring our characters more. We're getting to know them a little bit better. That's something I really enjoyed about this episode. I loved Loki's more intimate moments, and he's talking about his mother, and he's talking about, so that story about the frog I think Thor tells that story in Ragnarok to somebody, and they feel bad for him. He's like, yeah, one time he turned me into a frog, and then he tried to kill me. And he was laughing about it. But I love it. I love all the little Easter eggs that they put in there, the little things that are nods to other parts of the story that we know. So yeah, I really think that this episode in particular is meant for the next one, right? All this build up for whatever's going to happen in the next one. And I think it's immediately going to pick up where we left off. So I'm really, really excited to see what they do in the next one. I almost said next month, next week. We're almost done. I can't believe we're halfway through. I cannot believe it. I'm going to give this one a 4.5 too. I think that's a good score for this. Just mostly because I think it's a little less on the action and as far as we know, progressing the plot. I think a good solid 4.5 is good. And my favorite scene is when Loki's singing in the bar.
Yes.
It was so beautiful and sweet, and hearing him sing those songs, and when he throws it down, another. I love that so much. It just shows, we talked about the growth of the character, right? And it shows just so many layers to him. We see so many different layers, and the metaphor about love being a broken spear or something. It's wonderful. I loved it.
An imaginary dagger, yes.
Yeah, broken dagger. Imaginary.
Oh man,
dagger.
yeah, he's pretty bad at the metaphors. That's hilarious. Cannot get those metaphors down. All right, Christopher G. Moore, you're up next. Your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene. And I think I know the actor you're talking about.
Richard E. Grant.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah. Known for that famous movie Hudson Hawk. For those people that know, he was actually in Rise.
To swing on a star.
I love Hudson Hawk, but he was also in Rise of Skywalker. I enjoyed the episode. I probably enjoyed it the least of everybody. So I'll be the Gene Siskel of this episode, considering that's what people call me on the internet, on the interweb, whatever you want to call it. I still enjoy. I enjoyed it. It had some really great moments. I think some of the special effects, especially towards the end, were really cool. Although I love that you have a production design that correlates to a black light laser tag room with all the glow in the dark lighting and stuff.
It was great.
If you've ever been to one of those laser tags where has the black lights everywhere, I just think I think that's a really interesting sci-fi society where it's all using like black light color against stuff.
I feel like the game master would have loved that place.
Yeah, I felt like I felt like it was in some kind of cheesy like children's restaurant, like a Chuck E. Cheese or something. It was almost like a Chuck E. Cheese version of the future. Anyway, I'm saying that jokingly and not saying that's a horrible thing. I just every sci-fi thing doesn't have to be beautiful. You know?
Yes, it does.
But yeah, overall, I think it was good. I think to me, this is that middle Lord of the Rings. You know, it's like,
I like the Two Towers.
Well, but it kind of ends. You know what I mean? It kind of like, you know, but still, I think I think they do a pretty good job of sort of incorporating elements that sort of tie into the later, and I think maybe the weirdness of this one is probably because we'll find out what's going on. Mm-hmm. Which, you know, this could be, you know, like that episode of Dallas where you find out it's all a dream. There's people old enough to know that, you know, and then Loki will come out of the shower. It's all a dream.
Didn't that happen in Lost too? Didn't they do that in Lost?
Or it could be like the end of St. Elsewhere. You find out like this whole episode was just this kid's dream of what happens in a snow globe.
Nobody saw St. Elsewhere, Chris. Okay.
Be quiet. How dare you? How dare you criticize me?
We'll be the Lokis here.
Yeah, I know. You're all a bunch of tricksters. I know that, especially over here, dad joke guy. Anyway, let me get to my point here, which is, I think this is my least favorite of the episodes, but it still is charming. It still has some great moments. I love the interaction between the two, Loki and Sylvie. And I think that end scene, which is really brilliantly shot and well crafted. But again, it opens up so many questions. I mean, even like if you think the time stone is part of it, you think that he would use a time stone to turn everything backwards. So I don't know. There's like so many questions I have about it, and I'm sure that's those questions will be answered a little bit more in the next episode. But I don't want to wait.
Don't want to wait.
So I'm giving this a 4 out of 5, which is still a good rating, but it just didn't hit on all cylinders. And like Doc, I kind of missed some Mobius. I kind of wish I was like, where's Mobius when you need him? So, you know, maybe, hopefully we'll see him in the next episode. And then maybe he might team up with him once he finds out he's a variant. Or all of his other, if there's other variants of him. So maybe
the variant uprising.
Yeah, maybe they keep stopping him every time he wants to ride like a water ski. They pull him.
Rude.
Rude. Let's see. I completely forgot what you two guys said were your favorite scenes.
Mine was when he's singing.
And what was yours?
At the bar.
Mine was every moment that they had to try to one up each other and say, no, my way is better.
Okay. I hope I'm not stealing Doc's thunder, but I'm gonna say the long take in scene.
Yeah, that's my thunder.
So screw you, Doc. I'm going home. So that's
not on the arc.
Now I gotta scramble.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite scene.
Yeah, it's mine too, but I gotta come up with something else. All right, I
can
did
use
it.
the same.
You can
I
share.
did.
It's a big one.
You could be the variant. Variant Loki.
I did enjoy this quite a bit. I loved how. I think my favorite parts are just how the Lokis, if we presume it is a lady Loki, how they interact with each other. I thought, you could see them both charming each other, and I will say that at one point when they were talking about princes and princesses, princes and princesses, that it got a little awkward. Like, hey, does that mean Loki's flirting with himself? That's really weird. But anyway,
Loki's turned himself into a horse and screwed another horse and then had a horse baby. He's done weird stuff. Okay.
Where did that come from?
His goal would be to Loki himself. That would be the thing.
It's not incest if it's a different timeline.
If it's you,
right?
If it's yourself,
it's not incest. You're not technically connected. It's a different
Loki,
multiverse.
Loki, fuck thyself. It was truly weird, but
you broke Christopher.
Broke Chris. I love this episode. I thought it was a lot of fun. I loved just the interaction between the two won me over. The only thing is keeping me from giving this thing a 5 is absolutely because there's no Owen Wilson, there's no Mobius, and Christopher's dying. But
we're in time as Mobius and Mobius.
I know, so I'm gonna. Oh my god, I don't know what to do with myself now. Well, shush.
Don't do what Loki's doing.
Don't Loki yourself. I'm going to give it a 4.75, just slightly more. But I will agree that I think because of the lack of Mobius, it isn't as good as the first two. But I still love this so much. My favorite scene, of course, is the end, because I thought as soon as they go through that and you see everything and all the people, and it was it just looked fantastic, and it was an incredible scene. But if it's not that, I'm going to go with earlier in the scene when Lady Loki comes out and she tries to use her powers and it goes fizzle.
Yeah.
And then she becomes
at the TVA.
Yeah, at the TVA, and she becomes a badass.
That's a good scene.
And she kicks ass, and I thought that was amazing. That
was a good scene.
Yeah. It was
a choreographed fight.
Yeah, if it's not that, it's like, that was a terrible throw. That's an awful throw. All right, there we go. That's our review for.
I'm glad we're reviewing a Disney Plus show.
Yes.
I think you need to use your Loki bleeping powers.
I gotta go bleep myself. What the bleep are you
broke
talking
my
about?
variant brain with your language. Oh
and
my God.
What was really funny was the
I didn't expect you to say that. I just
die. Nobody says die anymore.
You're not the regular Doc. What if
I'm the variant?
The variant Doc.
Oh,
the timeline is branching off because of that. Oh my God.
All right. If you are still listening, thank you so much for hanging out with us. All your kids, I apologize. I hope their ears didn't burn off their heads. We are definitely looking forward to the next 3 episodes. But Slattman, Christopher, Vanessa, I am so glad you joined me. This was a lot of fun. Thank you.
You found a way to shut Chris up.
How dare you? How dare you, Vanessa?
Oh, I know what shirt I'm making Christopher now. It'll be that scene. This scene right here, right there. It'll be those two, and in the middle, it's going to say exactly what I said.
It's not Marvel approved.
Doesn't have to be. All right, let's say goodnight while we can.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.